Hello.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Shall we start the session now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. So now you are all able to see the screen, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So yesterday I have given introduction to Indian writing in English, and as well as we have given overview of 2 units already. But just I want to give a small introduction to this. So Indian writing in English. So actually, the present course has been divided into 4 blocks, and each block is subdivided into 6 units. So each unit has a lesson, maybe a literary item, that is prose or poetry or text, anything. And the evaluation is per 100 marks. And you're going to appear for the external examination for 70 marks and assignments for 30 marks. And so we all know what is literature, and there are many literatures in the world, particularly English literature. So British, American, African, Canadian, Australian, all these literatures we have, just like our Indian English literature. And hello, excuse me. Can you mute yourself, please? Somebody is, your voice is disturbing. Can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. Whenever you want to talk, you can unmute yourself. Otherwise, for the time being, please mute all of yourselves.
Ma'am, you are the co-host, ma'am. You can mute all.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
we have Anglo-Indian literature and we have Indo-Anglian literature. So Anglo-Indian literature produced by Englishmen based on the Indian theme or based on Indian subject. And Indo-Anglian literature is that it is written by Indians, that is by birth or inheritance, and they write on the same Indian themes or subjects, but through English language. So these are the 2 types of writers or the literature produced in the early period of Indian English literature. I'm just summing up, please. So this video is available to you. Whenever you want, you can watch it. And what is an Indian writing in English? So Wikipedia definition is there, and some people defined. Let us go through M.K. Naik's definition. Defines Indian English literature as literature written originally in English by authors Indian by birth, ancestry, or nationality. So he defines English literature such as in his book, A History of English Literature, which is a reference book, which is considered as a good reference book. So here are some of the early writers, say Raja Ramohan Rai, Henry Louis Vivian Derozio, Michael Madhusudan Dutt, Rabindranath Tagore, Aurobindo, R.K. Narayan, Mulkraj Anand, Raja Rao, etc. And we have the first unit, the first report of the Madras School Book Society on education in schools. This is written by Vennelakanti Subrao. So this is a report. Actually, you can consider this as a prose, a piece of prose. And this report has been written to the Madras presidency. So in this report, the author defines and describes what are the problems that are existed at that particular time in the society. What was the condition of the schools? Indian education system, particularly in South India. So he talks about boys, girls, and what kind of education they have been given by the teachers who are working in that. So he says there was no discrimination among the boys community, and a few girls are allowed and few girls are attending to schools. And there is no complete literacy has been given to the students. Only students were taught for the purpose of reading. That means they know how to read. That's it. Without knowing the meaning, they were trained to treat, to give just a reproduction of what they have been taught. So he felt very bad about this. And some curious facts about the author is this Vennelakanti Subba Rao. So his period is from 1784 to 1839. So he has written his autobiography, which is supposed to be the first autobiography in Indian English literature. So there are others also that who claim that the first autobiography, but if you compare the chronological order, so it has been recently confirmed that Vennelakanti Subba Rao's autobiography is the first autobiography written in English, in Indian English literature. And the second well-known fact is that Subba Rao wrote a report on school education at Madras Residency. That means the present unit that we are learning is supposed to be the first report which is written on school education to government, British government, prior to 3 years of Raja Ram Mohan Rai's report to the Governor General of India on education system of India. So which is a very less known fact. So these two are the two important factors that we need to remember about Vennelakanti Subba Rao, that his autobiography is the first autobiography which is written in English language. And the second one is he has written the first report on education system of India to Madras Presidency. And one more thing that I want you to note that is the spelling. If you observe in your book, all of you hope you have a textbook with you. Is it? Do you have?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Please try to observe the spelling. So that is Vennelakanti Subrow. The spelling is Soobrow instead of Vennelakanti Subba Rao. So he mentioned his name like this on the report itself. Why? Just because British officers, that is Englishmen, used to pronounce his name like this because they cannot pronounce exactly the South Indian names. They used to pronounce like this. So just the spelling is also, he changed his spelling name like that, and he used to write his spelling so that he has written this report like this. That is Vennelakanti Subba Rao. So actually he is from Ongole at the time. That is the Ongole was in Madras Presidency. So he is belongs to Telugu. And second unit is minute of the 2nd of the February 1835 by T.B. Macaulay. So no need of giving introduction to T.B. Macaulay. I think you know very well that about T.B. Macaulay, Macaulay's minutes, popularly known as Macaulay's minutes. So he belongs to England, and he came to India to resolve the issue between the hello.
Ma'am, we can't hear you. Professor, we can't hear you.
Ma'am, your voice got struck.
Oh, sorry.
Now
Am
we
I-
can
am-
hear you. Now
Am
you
I
now we can
audible to
hear
you
you.
now?
Oh, it is
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
So
We'll
we
start.
lost you on the previous slide. We lost you on the previous one.
Yes. Actually, I have, how many, this recorded video, the yesterday's once you'll be getting a link from the university so that you can watch the entire class. Is it clear?
Absolutely,
Hello?
ma'am. But I just wanted to let you know
Yeah.
that we stopped hearing you and where we lost you so that you can continue.
Yeah. So I'm just skipping the second one, that is Macaulay's minutes, because it needs a quite a long introduction to this, because we have shortage of time. That is,
Understood.
we have to start with the second class.
Understood.
Yeah. So please go through the link which is provided to you. Go through the entire video, and please let me know in the next class if you have any doubts regarding with it. Right? Hello?
Acknowledge, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Right. That's fine. Okay. Now we are moving to the today's session. That is unit number 3 and 4. Unit number 3, 4. Right. Now, are you able to see unit 3?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So this is unit 3, from ancient ballads and legends of Hindus.
You are not audible, ma'am. Could you please check?
Hello? Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Right.
Now you're
Oh,
audible.
ma'am.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So this lesson, this is a poetic piece actually. So this from ancient ballads and legends of Hindustan. It consists of 9 poems, and which are all the mythological figures. This is written by Torudutt. So let us have a brief introduction about Torudutt. So Torudutt actually born into Dutt's family, and both of her parents are educated, and the family has been converted, of course, which is a great popular trend at that time. That means in the beginning of 19th century. And so Torudutt was very well known for her writings. So let us read this quote first once. She is a Bengali writer by birth, and she wrote in English and French languages as well. So Bengali writer Torudutt is often considered to the first Indian poetess to write in French and English at a time when Indian writers were facing a lot of criticism from English literatures. Dutt's work was not only appreciated but even republished. Although she died at the tender age of 21, Dutt's achievements are significant even today. So she died at a very young age, like her siblings. So Torudutt was greatly influenced by Christian philosophy as well as Hindu philosophy. So when her family moved to London And they went to European countries for 4 years, and they received French education. And from beginning, Torudat's father has been given very good inputs, because as he was a linguist. Torudat's father was a linguist. And Torudat is also called Keats of the Indo-English literature. During the closing years of her life, she studied Sanskrit, and it brought her to the spring of her own literature. It is wonderful to grasp of a girl who, at the age of 21, had produced so much of lasting worth, wrote Edmund Gosse. Little wonder then that even 137 years after her death, Torudat's contribution to literature is vividly remembered. So let us have a brief chronology of Torudat. Torudat, she born in 1856 and she died in 1877 at the age of 21 years. So she was a poet, novelist, essayist, translator, and polyglot, was an outstanding pioneer in the history of Indian literature. She was born as Torulata Dutt on March 4th. The illustrious and wealthy Dutt family was born at Calcutta. So, Torudat's family is renowned for its aristocracy, progressive, westernized outlook. So why I'm reading this point is the family itself has a westernized outlook. That means in the beginning of 19th century and 18th century, the late 18th century, it has seen very great, tremendous change in the society. There was a Sipahi mutiny, and there was a transitional period of Indian educational system. It was a period of religious transfers, conversion from Hinduism to Christianity, conversion from Hinduism to Islamism, and conversion from their professions also, one profession to another. It was a period of the beginning of industrialization. Sorry, not the beginning, it was the effect. That is, the period has seen so many changes in the society. So the changes were like this. So there was a change in the education system. There was a change in the religious system. There was a change in the caste system. So there was so much of happening was there in the society. So Torudat's family was westernized. It is very evident that they were inspired by the Western education, particularly religious and educational academics. So, in order to develop themselves, to mingle with the other part of the world, to see the best education system, to mingle, to adapt themselves. So they have decided, many of the Indians who belonged to the upper caste, that means richer section, the premium section of the society, of the Indian society, as well as the aristocrats of the Indian society, converted themselves to Christianity. So this was the period of so much change. Transition was happening. So Torudat was taken place in the society as a writer who has witnessed all these changes. Unfortunately, her brother dies at a very young age, at the age of 12 or 13. And so her father decided to take Torudat and her sister to Western countries, European countries, and they moved there. And they got received French education also, and music, and much more education has been received there. And after 4 to 5 years, they came back to Calcutta. And after they came to Calcutta, Unfortunately, once again, she lost her one more sibling, sister. So she felt suddenly very alone, aloofness. And if we have to discuss about this situation of Torudat, the mental condition of Torudat, so we need to learn a very little background about this. So most of her poems and her works, particularly her works, entire works, reflects some particular themes like aloofness and fear of death, premonition of death, and nostalgia. All these themes one can find along with patriotism and religious inspiration and spiritual content. So why this is happening? As we all know that being born into a very traditional, rich family, once the family has been converted into Christianity, obviously they find and they have found some distinction from other families of their community. So they experienced that aloofness, that segregation, a kind of segregation, because the rest of the families are still practicing Hinduism, and the particular this family, their cousins, some of their cousins and siblings, they have belonged to the family. And even Torudat's mother, she was reluctant initially to accept Christianity as their religion. But later, slowly, she was convinced. But when she later convinced that conversion to Christianity is good, after observing so many evil conditions and the pathetic situations which are witnessed by the society, so she's convinced to convert into Christianity. And once she convinced, she accepted Christianity with her whole heart. And she has written some books and she translated some books also. So the family background has a great effect on Torudat. So she started writing at a very young age and she started publishing at from the age of 18. So in 1862, when Torudat was 6, the Dutts converted to Christianity from Hinduism. Govind Chanda, his father, along with his wife and 2 daughters, left for Europe in 1869 with the intention of settling there. He wanted his gifted daughters to see the world and receive the best Western education after the death of their son. They sailed to France, where Aru, that she is a sister of Toru, attended a French school. The younger girls began to translate French poetry into English. The family spent a year in London, where Aru and Toru studied music and history. In 1871, the Dutts moved to Cambridge. In Cambridge, Toru met Mary E. Martin, with whom she carried on a close friendship, mostly through letters, till her own death. In September 1873, the failing health of the 2 young daughters forced the Dutts to return to Calcutta. After her sister's death, she contributed regularly to the Poets' Corner of the Bengal Magazine and the Calcutta Review, publishing a series of English translations of French poetry between March 1874 and March 1877. So she has that aloofness, fear of death, because already one can understand the psychological situation. She lost her 2 siblings and she felt very alienated, segregated from the rest of the families, being her friends or relatives, whatever. And when she came to India, again she felt. One reason is that she also has lost her her second sibling, sister. And one more thing is that everything is new to her now in India, because when she was in Europe, she found very alienated because of her color. That means we are Indians, that is, she's brown, and she experienced such type of segregation even from the English people. So this person has got that feeling of aloofness. And here the situations are changing. She has grown up. She's trying to understand what are the happenings of the society, how the education system has been changed, and how the things are going on. Religion, education, political movements, independence, struggle for independence. All these things made Toru to mention such type of things in her works. And when she was a child, she used to listen stories orally from her mother, from her parents even. So as a child, she grew up imbibing the cultural values of Hinduism. And she has developed a amicable nature to listen to the myths, to listen to all these things. And she's learned Sanskrit, and she studied Ramayana, Mahabharata, and all these things. So you can imagine, Todat is a well-versed. She studied well, and she is now influenced by both the religions, both the culture, religion, and the impact of Christianity, tradition, richness, importance of Hinduism. And she suffered from aloofness of both the communities, both the nations, both the feelings. So her final produce was that she decided, and she determines to write such type of works that imbibing both the cultures is a very good thing in order to sustain the development in the society. So for example, her famous poem, Lotus. So we just brief this poem. What is the theme of the poem is that the flowers would be arguing with each other. So there is a rose, there is a lily, and there is a lotus. So rose is red and beautiful, and lily is white, long, straight, a flower, which is a symbolism of European countries, the white. And rose is, it has fragrance, it has color. That means it stands between these two. That is sometimes Indianness and sometimes Westernization. And the lotus is, it is an indigenous Indian flower. Indigenous is local, native flower, which has both the color of the rose as well as the structure and the fragrance of lily. So lotus represents excuse me.
Realme number 6, Realme number 7, please mute yourself. Thank you. Please continue, ma'am.
Yeah. So the lotus represents both the amalgamation of
Put up
both.
your video also, Realme 7.
It has both the characteristics. And so everybody accepts it, and it is a very good. And one more thing that you can observe from the lotus is, lotus never sprouts, never flowers, never blooms in fresh water. Obviously, you have slithering mud, and you have a dirt where you have a lotus. And from that slithering dirt and from very bad conditions, smelly conditions, odorous conditions, the beautiful flower blooms. So here, Torudattu is giving India an information and is giving a suggestion, giving her recommendation that if we develop from such conditions, what we have already, the pathetic situations which were prevailing in the 19th and 18th centuries of Indian society, from that situations we need to grow up by imbibing both the cultures. That means the advancements, the scientific advancements and the culture, that is a new culture, and you have to take everything, the English language, the literature, the advancements and new investigations, all these things. But we are not supposed to leave, we should not leave our culture and our traditions, our morals, and we have to mingle these two. We have to use these two. We have to depend on these two, and we have to grow. So, in a way, her poems gives such a patriotic spirit. And I have given this publications also. You can make a note of it if you want later. So here, actually, this lesson, Unit 3, from ancient ballads and legends of Hindustan, we have all the mythical, that means mythological figures. So common legends, we would be listening to all of them. Usually we know Savitri, we have Sita, we have Ekalavya, and the poems are all these. So why she is talking about these? So one can have a doubt, when she is already converted into Christianity, why she is writing in all these Indian mythological figures? So one needs to understand that even though she converted into Christianity, she did not leave her roots in the Hinduism. So she wants to write in India about the mythological figures. One thing, she is translating, no doubt she is translating all the poetical works from Sanskrit to English, and at the same time, she is reinterpreting the mythological figures. So she is giving such type of recommendations to the society that one needs to update, that we need to reinterpret our backgrounds, what we have been taught by our elders, because the time is changing. We need to develop, we need to change our ideas in order to have a good development. And in her mind, there is also very deep rooted faith on Christianity. So she mixed these two. That means religion is not important to her, but the ideas and beliefs, the goodness of the religion is the only way to have redemption from the societal evils and the social evils. And so her mythological figures and the legendary figures goes on. So we don't have text here, and no need to go through the entire text also. Just we are going to talk about some of the concepts of Torudat. That's it, because the chapter is given like this. Indian culture is embodied Sanatan Dharma, the ancient yet eternal religion, symbolized by the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Gita. The ancient ballads and legends of Hindustan, of Torudat, is replete with all the Indian cultural trends, such as the supremacy of the doctrine of karma, non-attachment from worldly things, self-surrender, devotion, elusiveness of this world, love, fidelity, and parental devotion. Savitri, the legend of Dhruva and Sindhu, present the doctrine of karma. So this quote is actually quoted by Dr. Kalpana Rajput. She is a poet and translator. So she says her ideas about Thorudat like this. So why she is mentioning all these characters is, for example, in her long poem, Savitri, she describes Savitri as very innocent, and she is good, quite beautiful. She is able to convince her parents. When she wants to go in search of her husband, which was captured by Yama, Lord of Death. So she was able to convince her parents that she is going to look after her husband. She is going to bring back her husband's life. So it may be today, if we think this is going to be very little issue, it may seem that it is a very petty issue that a woman going out of the home. But in Sanatana Dharma, that is a very long back in the history, it is forbidden to a lady to step out of the home. That means even though she is innocent, she is very humble, she is able to take firm decisions when it comes to her chance. In order to make things possible, she is able to step out of that forbiddenness, to come out of her limitations. So she is giving this recommendation to the society that ladies, girls, women should come out of this whenever it is needed. If the situations demand us to come out of these, one should be able to dare such things. And she is a very clever, that is, she even tricks Lord Yama, and she brings her husband's life back. So she's here, Savitri teaches karma to Yama. So what is the interesting thing is, Savitri is teaching this karma to Yama. So might have seen in all the films, most of the films, and we might have read so many books. So Yama is not just Lord of Death, but he is interpreted as the Lord of Justice. So he never had the partiality to take anybody's life. That is, whatever is just, that he will do. That is just like an interpretation to Yama. So even here, Savitri teaches karma, and she says nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent, and one should, whoever it is, one should Hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we
Yes,
can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Ma'am, we are there.
Okay. So one should have, feel that they have to face all these consequences of their doings. One should face the consequences. So such type of things she reveals to, that is Thorudat, taking Savitri as her voice, she reveals all these things. And she goes on, talks about Sita and Ekalavya. Sita is also, she was an obedient wife, and she was a faithful wife to Rama, and she was patiently waiting for her husband in order to take her off the garden of from the clutches of Ravana. So even Sita is also a bold figure in order, in the to the view of Thorudat and Ekalavya. So through all these mythological figures, she wants to say that they have to be able to respect their jobs, and they should stick to their responsibilities, and yet they have to be adept with the situations and courage whenever it is needed to come out of any shackles of evilness. And her poems is also talks about women's education. I mean, she never directly spoken about women's education directly, but the empowerment, one can see this type of themes which are presented in her works. And you can understand, I mean, from the textbook, I hope you have already read the textbook, English Education, Women's Education, and Religion, and the presence of myths in her books. And the one more last thing that we need to discuss is women's poetry. How different. So this is one more thing that we need to discuss. So women's poetry, is it different from men or not? May I have your idea?
Thought and perspective are different, ma'am, but the poetry still follows the same rules, be it be a man, woman, any gender.
Yes, very good. So obviously it is a well-known fact. Maybe one cannot be able to distinguish these two nowadays, maybe in this present times, but during that period, obviously you can see the distinction, the thought, the ideas, the experiences would be a little bit different because of the brought up and the exposure that they had. So girls weren't given equal opportunity to have education. They weren't have given equal chances to participate in political movements, and as well as to take part in the religious studies also. So that was a transition period where women are coming out of all these things slowly. So women are going to schools and colleges are giving admissions to schools. Schools and colleges are giving admissions to women. And some funds are also giving. And one can say blindly that this was happened because of the westernization of education. So on one hand, you have westernization of education is very helpful to the society. And at the same time, you have some demerits of this westernization of the society and as well as education. So we move on to the second unit.
Ma'am, the fourth or the second?
Sorry.
You said me the third and the fourth.
It is fourth, sorry.
Got
I mean, today it is second. Yeah, fourth one.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, what
So are
happened,
you,
ma'am?
are you able to see now?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am, not yet shared.
Okay, one second.
Sure.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
it visible?
Yes,
Ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is unit 4, Saguna. This is by Krupabai Satyanathan. So about Krupabai Satyanathan. So this present work, Saguna, is said to be autobiographical novel of Krupabai Satyanathan. So Krupabai Satyanathan, the writer, her period is from 1860 to 1894, was a second generation high caste Christian convert born in the Bombay Presidency. She received a scholarship for medical studies after missionary school and was admitted to the medical college in Madras as one of their first female students. She wanted to become a doctor. So we have to note that point, the first female student to become a doctor. She was a reformist and recognized the need for female education, began a teaching career, and on the sideline published articles and short stories for various magazines under the pen name An Indian Lady. So these are the very few curious facts that we need to know about this Krupabai Satyanathan. And today we have just finished Batorudat, and we are going to read Krupabai Satyanathan. So these two female writers, both are born into very good rich families, and one common factor is they have written about women. And one more thing is both of them are converted into Christianity in spite of being born into rich and traditional upper caste families. This thing that we have to note down. So I'll tell you later why we have to notice these things. So she was born in Ahmedabad, and Saguna and Kamala, these two are her famous popular novels. So she died in 1894, and she won a trip to London also because of her performance in one of the local event. And so due to her health conditions did not support her to complete her education. So she was very depressed, and later she became a teacher, and she married Satyanathan. So that's why she became this Satyanathan with her surname. And her husband belongs to South India, and so she came to here. She moved from north to south. And if you observe closely her family, she was born into a higher, richer, and orthodox Brahmin family. But this author's father was converted into Christianity. So the same she has mentioned in her novel Saguna, which is an autobiographical novel. And it is the first autobiographical novel in English by an Indian woman. In the beginning of the class, I told you Vennelakanti Subrao, her autobiography was the first one, which is written in English. Here, this is the first autobiographical novel in English by an Indian woman. Is it clear? Am I clear? Am I clear to you all?
Crystal
Yes,
clear,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Novel English by an Indian woman. It is a 19th century classic describing an Indian woman's interrogation of her disturbing experience of religious and cultural hybridity and of feminism in the colonial encounter. So, in order to understand all these terms, we just need to have some very brief knowledge about colonialism, colonial encounter, westernization, and Indian education system, Indian political system, Indian cultural system, religious system. All these things we should have an idea. So if not interrupting you, may I know how many of you are from literature background?
I'm from literature background, ma'am.
Fine. And anybody? Okay, fine, thank you.
Actually, all of you can say yes, you finished your first year in literature.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Yes, that's fine. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So here, So as you are all from literary background, so no need to give such a long introduction. I'll just simplify the introduction. So here, Saguna is a novel which is set in a background that the society, first you think you need to understand the society and the family. Let us talk about Saguna's characters. Novel has very few characters, and Saguna's father, Saguna's mother, and her grandmother, and some of her Saguna's brother, elder brother, and you have some families and relatives and friends. So Saguna's father is Harichandra. So he belongs to a rich, higher class Brahmin, I mean upper caste. So he converted into Christianity. What is a big deal to convert into Christianity or to a Brahmin? So one might be surprised to know the fact about the conversion, the topic and the theme, the idea of conversion is that in those days when missionaries came to India, when missionaries came to India in order to spread religion, that is Christianity, and as well as Western education. So most of the Orthodox communities were reluctant to the idea of conversion, but they wanted to have Western education. And many richer class people converted into Christianity. For example, take this Saguna's novel, and the protagonist here, she or he, I mean Saguna and her father family belongs to upper caste. And in Torudat's writings also, for example, Torudat family, Dutt's family is supposed to be well-known, famous, rich in all the aspects. Yet the family itself converted to Christianity. So one can identify, one can observe the social strata and the influence of English education, Westernization, Western philosophy on the Indian minds, the well-learned minds. So Saguna's father accepts Christianity with a wholeheartedness because he wants to have some redemption. And he observed some of the fatal elements in the society, in the religious system, some superstition society. The main root cause that even the upper caste Brahmins or whatever the caste were feeling bad about their religious system is that the ladder or the Varna system. So why is this segregation should be present in the society? And one more important thing is very few people were given the chance and the accessibility to learn. Learning was not available, freely available to everybody. It is permitted to a particular sect of people, a particular community. So nobody knows what is written in it. Those who are able to read in Sanskrit can know that. Those who are able to read in Persian or Arabic, they knew it. The rest of the people, even though they are rich, they don't know. They didn't know. So there is a lot of variation, distinction, classification was there in the society. And the presence of all the customs, social evils which were prevailing in the society made them to think about the conversion from Hinduism to Islamism. And we just have read that our culture is rich. Our ancient Vedas and texts were rich. Then why people are unable to love it? So my humble request is that this is not our idea. This is not my idea that Hinduism is not good and Christianity is good and Christianity is not good and Hinduism is good. It is not this. It is just the practice. It is just the practice. Belief may be different, but the practice should be good. Religion, any religion, never teaches bad things. But we practice in a bad way, in a negative way, in a selfish way. So the selfishness of some particular group of particular people and the practices made the entire society into a turmoil.
So, ma'am,
this-
we are talking about their thoughts and their mental framework and that social and that cultural conditions here as of now.
Obviously.
Yes,
Yeah. So these higher caste people, richer caste people, they Christianity, but it is not acceptable to all. It is not such an easy thing in those times. So his mother, Harichandra's mother, tries to poison her son, her own son, because he converted into Christianity. Because she thinks that her family will be excommunicated from her own community. And her son brings defame to the family. So she is feared a lot. She feared a lot. Rather than accepting Christianity or her son's decision to conversion, she might have left the decision to her son, tries to kill her own son. You can notice the intensity of the impact of religion, the fear of the domination, the dominated sector which is present at the time in the society. And one more character is Saguna's mother, that is Harichandra's wife, Radha. So she is a character that we need to understand very closely because she represents the entire platform. Being a wife, she cannot leave her husband. And being taken birth into an Orthodox Hindu family, she cannot accept Christianity. Here we can see the conflict, her inner conflict. She may face threat from her own community and from her own members of the family, rest of the family. And yet herself also, she is not convinced fully to accept Christianity. It is her husband's decision to accept Christianity, his view, his idea, but she has had to accept. Initially, she was reluctant, but later she is convinced. But at her heart, she still is a Hindu, but in practices, she has to act like a Christian. And this particular character, Radha, symbolizes some particular groups who are moderate. That means in between these two. So they want to support Western education, Westernization, not just education, Westernization. Westernization is just to accept religion or at least religious, ideas, tolerance, at least you can use the word tolerance. Tolerance of ideas, education, culture, new pathways, development, everything. And on the one go, it is also submissiveness to the authority of foreigners. So you have many things. Accepting Westernization is not just learning English language. Accepting Westernization means a lot. And they want to still yet follow Indianness, indigenous culture, our own religion, our own culture, everything. So some people are completely against this. So yesterday's class deals with that particular two groups, Orientalists and Anglicists. Orientalists are the group where you have very good learned people who supported indigenous languages, and Anglican supported only English as medium of instruction, and English should be official language. That is, English should be replaced with Arabic and Sanskrit. These two groups are there. So there was a argument between these two. There is a fight between these two. At that time, Lord Bentinck called Macaulay, Lord Macaulay, so to have, in order to have a solution, and they started a committee, and this person, Macaulay, headed the committee, and he researched, he observed, and he prepared minutes that is called, popularly known as Macaulay's Minutes, after the Charter Act of 1813. So he observed many things, with the scholars, education system, economical system, political system, made a document, Macaulay's Minutes, which is a legal, political, economical document, which has almost all the information about the society of India at that time. So here you see these groups. So we have to understand Radha as a character that who has to accept, because it is a compulsion for her, because she cannot leave her family, she cannot leave her husband, so she has to accept it. Whereas his mother, she did not accept. And one more character, important character, is Saguna herself. So she has no such problems whether to accept Christianity or not, because she has taken birth into the converted family. So it is not at all a problem for her, but she had some other problems. So one more concept is the effect of conversion. So here Harichandra's choice for another religion brings him excommunication and alienation. So we have to read all these effects of conversion, what has taken place in the family. So the family is excommunicated. This is no doubt radical change or decision in those times, but this decision does not come out of the suffering and struggle for existence. This change does not come out of a hope for life and livelihood like Dalits. This is one more important thing that we need to understand is, these people who belongs to upper caste, they did not converted because of their social status, because of their economical status. It is just completely their choice to take conversion. But whereas if you take low caste people, they had to accept Christianity just because of their social and economical conditions in the society. They are excommunicated throughout the generations by their own society. Low caste people were not given equal chances. There was no tolerance. There was practice of untouchability. So these low caste people were not given chance to choose their profession, their life, their education, anything. And even sometimes some families has to experience dire poverty just because they have taken birth into such low caste communities. So these people, Dalits accepted, that means untouchables, who are segregated as low caste communities, accepted Christianity as a redemption and to have had some facility. So here you compare these two. This person converted because he wanted it. And next one, this decision does not come from oppression, segregation, and exploitation, just like some people who belongs to low caste converted into Christianity in order to get a decent position in the society. So this conversion has one more phase also. So what is that? So already predominant society, the predominant communities which are there in the society, they felt that it is a threat, that is taking conversion into religion is a threat, they felt, because they're losing the people, they're losing the dominance, they're losing their power. So obviously the families who accepted Christianity were excommunicated. It was a threat to the dominant religion of the majority of the time. Conversion also meant losing out, but members to the other religions, especially for a religion like Hinduism. So does conversion to Christianity was listed as one of the criteria for excommunication. Harichandra's mother herself tries to poison him, reveals that what a blow it was to the family and how sacred, how scared the family was of excommunicated from its own community. So Saguna versus Untouchable. Here I want to say just one little comparison between the two novels, Saguna and Untouchable. Saguna, just the present current novel that we are going through, and Untouchable by Mulkraj Anand. So Saguna's character is here Harichandra and Untouchable Baka. Let us compare these two. If you compare these two pivotal characters, Saguna's Harichandra belongs to an upper caste Hindu family, whereas Mulkraj Anand Baka belongs to a lower caste community and he is an untouchable. Harichandra's decision to convert into Christianity is his choice to have some spiritual experience, whereas Baka's decision to convert into Christianity or a choice to convert into Christianity is purely a compulsion because of his social status. So here, one more thing is that we need to understand is the question of identity. So it is another theme of a question of identity, searching for an identity. Before the colonial period, during the colonial period, and after the colonial period, what is the identity of India? What is the identity of Indian society? Are we still stick to the our age-old traditions and culture and beliefs and lifestyle? Or else we are progressing? Or else we are just having the effect of colonialism, that is post-colonialism? Are we experiencing the results of colonialism, colonies? So where to stand? What to accept? What to be accepted? So this became the question of identity. And this became the major theme to many writers. How does Harichandra's decision to convert into Christianity can change his identity? He just changed his belief, but it changed his identity. He became excommunicated. He died. His family suffered after his death. Literally, they faced subjugation by their own community. Their own community, they faced subjugation, aloofness, segregation, alienness. How does the conversion or a non-conversion can change Baka's life, and how does it change his identity? If you take Baka, as in the case of Untouchable, Baka belongs to low caste community and literally he had to clean all the waste of, human waste, such a pathetic life that he had been leading. So that for the reason he was inspired and he was compelled by his own circumstances in order to get at least minimum facilities, minimum common facilities, he had to think of converting himself into Christianity. In order to live, in order to take food, live. So people are following such type of religion which gives them some redemption, some relief from their social status, from their pathetic conditions, poverty, is changing the identity.